Boxing King Media in association with Boxer. Delighted to have with me the Oman Spencer Oliver. Spence, seems like it's been forever.
Does it? It seems like yesterday to me, Raz. How you doing, mate? You all well?
I'm well, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Looking forward to this fight, Zhang, Joyce, man. It's going to be explosive for the Saturday night. Looking forward to it.
I mean, we saw Chris Eubank Jr. speak after his victory over Liam Smith about how tough it was. He was in the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. You know, Joyce was so close to being, this fight is for the mandatory, but he lost that opportunity. Yeah. What do you think he kind of went through after the fight?
Do you know what? He's got to overcome a lot of demons going into this fight. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of psychological damage going into this fight as well. But I think he's the type of fighter that can deal with that sort of stuff, deal with that sort of pressure. I think that complacency played a massive part of his loss last time out. You know, I think that Joyce started believing the hype about that he was indestructible, that he could walk through anyone. You know, the juggernaut could just go, just steamroll through people, and he proved that he can't. Do you know what I mean? And I'll tell you another thing, Raz, as well, right? I think that they made a huge mistake. Joyce made a mistake, the team made a mistake. Him coming in at 18 stone 2 when Zhang was coming in at 19 stone 8 was a huge mistake. It really was. If you look at Joyce's, probably his career best performance for me was against Joseph Parker. He weighed 19 stone 3 when he boxed Joseph Parker. And for me, that's where he's probably at his best. Don't know what the idea behind coming in at 18 stone 2 was. You know, Zhang, we know he's southpaw, heavy-handed, got quick hands but slow feet. Perhaps they were thinking, mobility, little bit of movement and whatnot, but that's not Joyce's style. Joyce can't, so when you go into an immediate rematch, right, you go, right, you understand the mistakes that you made and you need that adaptability. You've got to adapt to, how you're going to work out your opponent, whatever. Joe's going to do the same thing as he done last time, because that's what he does. You know what I mean? That's Joe's style. So for me, it was all down to the weight, and I think making that weight at 18 stone 2, you can see the punch resistance had gone, and if anything, he looked more lethargic than he normally does, and he's not the quickest of fighters anyway. So yeah, I think for me, it's all about what sort of weight he makes, and if he comes in at 19 stone 3, 19 2, anywhere in the 19 stone sort of marks, then you give him half a chance. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think that psychological damage will be there. He'll go in there and he'll be more cautious this time, and maybe a little bit more educated about what he does, like he was when he beat Daniel Dubois. Really, he was like a little bit educated about it, and he had a sort of game plan. But with this one, he thought he was going to take Zhang into the second half of the fight, and that's where he would get him, and that's where he'd wear him down. And he made that massive mistake, man. He got hurt early in the second round, and the writing was on the wall really from them. But it's a tough night for him Saturday night.
In terms of Zhang himself, how much confidence is he coming in after that explosive win?
Listen, Zhang's oozing confidence. Do you know what I mean? If you look at Zhang, where he's at, what is he, 41 now, 41? Where he's at, he's looking, he's now interim mandatory challenger for that WBO title, and he'll want to keep that, because he recognises that time ain't on his side. He's a tough guy, man. He's a good guy, and it's going to be difficult to beat on Saturday, but he'll be oozing confidence because, let's have it right, the way that he won that last fight, he won that so conclusively, he won that so easily, really. He didn't really have to go out of second gear, because Joe weren't really offering too much. He was sitting in the pocket, he was getting pinged with shots, so he'll be coming in oozing with confidence. What do you mean? Frank Warren? Yeah, of course, he's the best promoter in the world. Oh, hello, Frank. Yeah.
Well, we looked forward to a great night of boxing on Saturday night. Spence obviously made big news popping this week. Conor Benn is back Saturday night. I'm not sure if you've seen, obviously Simon Jordan and Jim White did a thing, I think it was yesterday or today.
I was with them.
Was you? Oh, I didn't see you on the screen, sorry mate. But Robert Smith obviously spoke to Jim White about their position,
on that one, by the way.
Hence why I said you won.
Yeah.
Have you heard Robert Smith's comments?
Now, what was Robert's comments on that? Because I know that the British Boxing Board of Control were making an appeal, as were UCAD. But I haven't spoke to Robert yet, and I'm interested. So what was Robert's?
Robert basically said that is correct, that they're waiting for an appeal date.
Yeah.
They're ready to go, but they're waiting for the NADP to give them an exact date.
Yeah.
But in terms of his blessing, Jim asked him, do you give Conor his blessing for his fight on Saturday? And he goes, for someone who runs the sport of boxing, practically he said, it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing, it shouldn't be happening.
It shouldn't be happening. Let's have it right. Do you know what I mean? Because it's sort of, what does it say about boxing as a whole? I understand that they want to get Conor Benn's career kicked off again. We all understand that, right? But The facts are the facts. Like, innocent until proven guilty, guilty until proven innocent. Right, so he's been found guilty on 2 tests, and he's not proved his innocence yet. So jurisdiction obviously lifted the ban. Understand that, but he's still got to clear his name, and that's the most important thing, right? And he's not done that yet, so he shouldn't be allowed through a technicality, through a loophole, or whatever, to be able to apply for a license in the States and box in Orlando, in Florida, on Saturday night. They announced it just 2 days ago, but for the sake of the sport, that shouldn't be allowed, because you got to go through the process, and he's not gone through the process. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I'm at with it. So, do I agree with it? No, I don't.
From their side, from Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn's side, the fact that he's no longer suspended ultimately means that he hasn't. It's inconclusive, right?
No, I understand.
I understand that from your perspective, it's inconclusive, but from Eddie Hearn's perspective, he's no longer suspended. He's free to fight.
Yeah.
We don't know how long this appeal is going to take.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. I understand that. He's no longer jurisdiction lifted the ban. I totally understand that. But that doesn't mean that he's proved his innocence. That's where I'm coming from. And we're talking about a sport here where people get hurt and people die, right? Facts. That's what it is, right? So let's keep it as clean as possible. Prove your innocence, mate. Once you've proved your innocence, then crack on. Great. That's brilliant. You've got time now to move on. This has been an ongoing thing now for the best part, what is it, a year? He hasn't boxed for 18 months. This has been ongoing now for a year or so. And yeah, you've got to prove your innocence, mate. And that's basically where I'm at. And until you've done that, I don't think through the technicality side of things or whatever, with jurisdiction listening and lawyers getting involved, etc., you should be allowed to box elsewhere because of that, because of lifting the ban. So yes, he has been cleared to box, but he's not proved his innocence, and that's where we're at with it.
Dan Raphael put a tweet out when the announcement came out, and I read it, and he said they can say it as many times as they please, but Conor Benn has not been cleared of his multiple drug test failures, has not had his cases fully adjudicated, and never served an official suspension. There's a reason he's not boxing in the UK. The Florida Commission is weak.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that, and that's exactly what it is. You just go for it. You go to see, like, he's obviously got his American license, and they've looked around to see who would accept him to fight wherever, and that's where it's landed in Orlando. And I mean, look, for the sake of the sport, mate, I don't think it's a good thing.
Jim, I also asked Robert Smith that Eddie's made it very clear they want to try to make the Chris Eubank Jr. fight in December, and Robert Smith was asked, if they pressed ahead with that while this appeal was going on, what are the ramifications for Chris Eubank Jr.? And he said, look, I'm not going to speculate on ifs and buts, but the position is clear.
Absolutely. Listen, we know what the position is, that anybody that gets involved with that whilst this is going on, anyone that holds a British Boxing Board of Control licence will be in a lot of trouble if they get involved in an event like that. So, I can't comment too much on that because that's down to Robert Smith and the British Boxing Board of Control. But I know that anybody that gets involved whilst this situation is going in is obviously going to be he's going to be penalised for that.
Do you think we'll see an appeal this year?
I think we will, yeah. I think it's imminent that we're going to see an appeal because it's a high-profile case and it does need sorting out for this. Like I say, because it's blown up the way that it's been blown up, and it was a PR disaster. Let's have it right from the beginning till right now. Really, the way that it's been dealt with has been a disaster from Conor's side, and that's why it's blown up. It's not a hate campaign, anything like that. It's blown up the way it has because the way it's been dealt with, right? And that's what it is. But yeah, I think that. Will we see an appeal this year? I would say probably yes, because it is so high profile and it needs sorting out, man. So everybody can move on. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much where we're at.
Simon also made some comments about VADA, and he stated that his perception is if VADA are going to be the be-all and end-all of testing, they are the ones you go to. But ultimately, there's a ramification. You can't just turn around and say, well, it doesn't come under jurisdiction with UCAD.
Yeah.
So Eddie Hearn now is obviously having a lot of VADA on his shows.
Yeah.
And Simon's counter was that, well, who's going to deal with the ramifications of anyone fails? Yeah. Who does, Spence?
Well, listen, that's the confusion surrounding all of this, with UCAD, with VADA, who, where does it land? Who does it go with? It's just, honestly, it's so confusing, mate. It's so hard to keep up with. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that out of this complete mess, I hope that it all gets sorted out. Maybe we need to go under one umbrella. Do you know what I mean? Have one testing system, would probably be the best way of doing it. One testing system, and the system is what it is. It says, it does what it says on the tin. This is what happens. If you get tested for this and you get found positive, forget all this. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, let him prove his innocence. So if you've tested positive, mate, you're positive. Do you know what I mean? It's not like contamination, all this bullshit. I mean, it's crazy, mate. Or like, it's just all wrong, man. It's all wrong, and it needs sorting out. And hopefully, like through this, we're gonna get some sort of something that's sorted and some sort of system that gets sorted as well.
Spence, always appreciate your time. We'll catch up with you after the show on Saturday.
Just seen Gareth A. Davis walking in. We're looking at the most loud shoes you've ever seen. Look at him, look. Jeez, man. Yeah, looking forward to it, mate. Saturday night, by the way. Tune in to TalkSport live from 7 p.m. TalkSport 2. Switch over to TalkSport at 10 p.m. for the main event.
Thank you, Spence.